How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it.
My name is Jonathan Gillum.
And this is The Experts. This is Jonathan Gillum, and this is The Experts on Facebook Live, Twitter, and YouTube. We have got a tremendous amount to talk about, so much tonight that I may have to end up putting on my glasses so I can read the comments that everybody's making. I'm told these make me look handsome. But what we're going to talk about tonight is we're going to talk about... We all knew it was going to happen, folks. We all knew that the gun control debate was going to start, because that's what always starts. It's not going to fix anything, but that's what starts. The left wants to bring that up. And remember, I try to get away from the terms Democrat and Republican, conservative and liberal, but the leftists in this country, the subversives, the communists, the criminal politicians, that's immediately what they go to. And then the people that somehow have fallen into some kind of love affair with this idea of extreme leftism in this country, well, they just go right along it. And as we'll see, age does not matter. Let's get started right now. So tonight, I'm going to start off talking about, we're going to start talking about these student activists, okay? And then I'm actually going to have a guest in studio with me, and unfortunately for her, this studio that I have is not the biggest studio in the world. So we're going to be crammed into this little space. But you'll know her voice anyway when she comes on, because she often pops into the SiriusXM Patriot Studios when I'm hosting for David Webb or Andrew Wilkow. So I'm going to keep it a little mystery. For those of you that don't listen to SiriusXM, you're not going to know who she is, but now you'll know. And it's going to be an impressive conversation, probably funny, a little bit edgy, but those of you that listen when I host, you'll know who she is. So I'll bring her on here in a minute, and she'll have plenty to say, I'm sure. She's standing by, very close. Yeah, they can't see you, don't worry. So anyway, she's not the first guest. She's actually, there's her arm. She's actually she's not the first guest in person. I think Dr. Debbie was the first person to be on the show live. So, in studio. Let's talk real quick before we start talking about gun control. Let's talk about student activists. Now, I want to bring up a picture, and I want everybody that's watching this show, first of all, don't forget to share it if you're on Facebook and retweet it if you're on Twitter. But I want to bring up these students from Parkland High School down in Florida, a place where we know that it is highly liberal. We have the sheriff there, Scott Israel, is as leftist as you can go. He didn't even wait for these children to be buried before he started making it political. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is in that neighborhood, and she is not only a whack job. I think we have a picture of Debbie here. Let's see if she's oh, I erased the picture. Never mind. It was so bad I erased it. Anyway, I can do impersonation of her.
Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Okay.
That's my impersonation of Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So she's from that area as well. And these people instantly jump on the gun control bandwagon. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But what is disheartening is when you have these young students who just a few days ago, today's Monday, so that's 4 days ago, 17 people died, were murdered, were shot, and died right in the school where they were at. An active shooter was roaming the hallways because law enforcement and the schools, and I'll even say the federal government, failed to secure those schools. They were actually in a shooting that was caused from a lack of awareness and a lack of, I'm trying to think of the correct word, a lack of responsibility by law enforcement, including the FBI, to do their freaking job. And when they get called 39 times by somebody, step forward and stop kicking the can down the road and actually look and see and determine what a threat is with this person. They just don't do that. Now, if you take, some type of drug because you have PTSD, or because you are depressed, or because you have anxiety, and you're a functioning human being, but because you have this type of a disorder that may come or go, and you get on a medication, you go apply for a job, there are jobs that you are not going to get if they find out you're on those drugs. Yet with somebody who is as mentally disturbed as this kid was in Florida, he just kept getting pushed to the side, and nobody did anything about it. Nobody confronted him in a way as to whether or not this kid should be institutionalized. And so that's odd to me. But when we look at the fact that these children, and they are children, were in this school where this kid was overlooked, where an active shooter came in, where security was not taken seriously enough to prevent a shooter or any other crazed person or somebody who's not supposed to be at the school from entering into the school. That was not taken care of by law enforcement or the school administrators. And yet these students, when they, like 5 days later, they're not crying, they're not like traumatized because people just got murdered in front of them. They're not angry because the school was not secured properly. They're not bothered at all by the fact that those that should be in charge of securing the locations all around the area where they live didn't even wait until bodies were in the ground before they started making it a political issue so that they could get election points and so that their ideology and their political party could be pushed forward. They're not angry about any of that. They're not traumatized by that. They just want to talk about gun control. And this is how they look. This picture was posted today. I'm sorry, folks. Look, if I've had brothers in the SEAL teams that died in combat. The mourning went on for a long time. My father died right in front of me. You didn't see me going out and trying to get on TV to explain mesothelioma with all smiles on my face. I personally find this disturbing. And I hope you do as well. I've been listening all day to the news and to radio shows where they're saying, well, these young people, and it's sad. It's not sad. Look, I remember when I was 9 years old. Now, I grew up different than most people. I grew up extremely poor. When I was 9 years old, I was driving a flatbed truck that was a stick shift, hauling hay. I was driving. I had responsibility at 9. And I remember thinking at 9 what is right and what is wrong and what's inappropriate. You don't have that anymore. With Twitter and Facebook, people say what they want. They do what they want. They have no common courtesy for anybody. They'll tell you F you. They'll call you whatever names they want. They'll disrespect you regardless of your experience, your subject matter expertise, because they think they are just as good as you. And when I see these kids up here, after 17 people have just been murdered, their peers, teachers, were murdered. Their school was not secured. The politicians showed that they don't care about them because they're not trying to fix the problem now. They're just simply using gun control as a way to get their name out there and to get popular. And I don't see any remorse. So I don't feel as though I have to look at these children and say, oh, poor them, they're so innocent, they're being used, they've been indoctrinated. Hell yeah, they've been indoctrinated. But at 9 years old, if I was smart enough to understand, put a blinker on when I turn left, put a blinker on when I turn right, don't go too fast because I could throw somebody off the top of the hay bales that were stacked up on the back of the truck because it could kill them. I took responsibility at 9 years old. These individuals can't even seem to identify the mourning process when 17 people are gunned down around them because of the faculty and the law enforcement's incompetence. It's disturbing to me, to say the least. And I hope you feel the same way. Look, I try not to be critical in these circumstances, but this is the truth, folks. You're going to see, when they go on television, you'll see some tears. You'll see some people saying, oh, this is sad or that is sad. But ultimately, their speech, and everywhere they're on TV, it'll come back to gun control. If they're not mad because their school wasn't secured, they're not mad because the same people that were responsible for securing the schools are out there politicking now. They're not mad about any of that stuff. They're not traumatized because blood was all over the place and people were murdered. They're just angry about gun control. Now, I think I probably beat that horse enough, but it's this bothers me greatly. And again, it's not a left or a right, black, white, gay, straight, woman, man, Republican, Democrat issue. This is a perfect example of how our community and our citizenry in this country has gone down the toilet to the point where they don't, whether they're young or old, they don't even have the right emotional responses to things that happen. I mean, listen, folks, this is huge. How many people have you ever been around that were murdered in front of you? How many of you have ever had a heartache because somebody broke up with you? That took you a while to get over. You think that's bad? Go somewhere where you see somebody get murdered. Or even an accident. How many of you have been driving down the road and you saw a car accident either happen or you got there right afterwards and there's blood and body parts all over the place? It's traumatizing. You don't believe me? Go to one of these websites where they have these beheading videos and go watch a couple of those. You'll be traumatized. And you're telling me that 17 people are killed in a school and this many individuals are so caught up in the rhetoric of activism that they don't even show remorse 5 days after. This is just odd. We have created a nation of sociopaths, psychopaths, narcissists, and completely lost individuals. So let's do this. Let's go to the A block, and we're going to talk about the same old rhetoric of gun control, but I'm going to throw a twist in this. I'm going to bring a guest on and hopefully not lose my voice. And I think, look, it's going to be a nice spin to have somebody come on, and I'll explain to you why she and I decided to have her in studio. Well, basically because she wanted to be in studio versus on the television, but it is kind of nice, and hopefully I'll get this studio made where it'll be a little bit bigger and I can have people more comfortably in here. But let's go ahead and go to the A block, and let's talk about this whole reoccurring issue of gun control. All right, here she is. Those of you that have watched or listened to SiriusXM Patriot Channel when I host on David Webb or on Andrew Wilkow's show, Nina, a.k.a. the Queen of Palestine on Instagram. Yes, she's Muslim. Yes, I'm Christian. Don't have a heart attack. But Nina always, especially when we used to do David Webb's show late at night, she would come in and we would have, millennial to old guy debates and stuff. And it was always a lot of fun. But actually, I'm very, very impressed because Nina approached me. She knows I do this show every night. And she wanted to have a discussion about gun control. And I was like, well, okay, I'm sitting here thinking just like most people, first of all, and I'm going to say what a lot of people are thinking, okay? First of all, you are a Muslim.
Yes, I am.
And that's that's no surprise. Yeah, you have your proper dress there. And so let me move this back just a little bit so we can make sure that I can hear.
Hi, Kitty. She said hi, Nina. Hello.
Kitty Kelly. Okay, I think that'll be good. We can hear you better now. So.
Hello, Annie. I'm sorry, I'm going to stop reading the comments because I'm going to get distracted.
Yeah, that's right, you will. We're going to have a conversation, and then you can read these. So, yes, you're Muslim, and you're a millennial.
Yes.
So it's going to throw people for a loop when, I can guarantee if we talk to most people, they're going to say, well, Muslims usually identify with the Democratic Party, and you're a millennial, they usually identify with the Democratic Party. But in this case, what is your take on gun control?
I'm obviously a liberal. I have very liberal views on a lot of things regarding society, but when it comes to gun control, I kind of lean more conservative.
Of all the things.
I know, right? I feel like it's a right. It's a right as an American citizen, the right to bear arms.
Well, you don't have to feel that way because it is a right.
And I don't think that I shouldn't be allowed to carry a gun or have a gun at home because a couple knuckleheads want to be psychos and act out, especially when they themselves have issues that aren't dealt with, like even Adam Lanza, I'm sorry, Rico's licking me, so
yeah, you can push him back. Everybody that watches this show knows that I have an 18-year-old dog that
yes.
You can grab him and put him up here.
The Sandy Hook shooter, his father came out after the fact and he even said, I know my son had something wrong with him. He was disturbed. It was crystal clear. So it's like, if you know your son was wrong, why didn't you do anything to help him or try to get
his
him?
Mom bought him the guns.
Yeah, that's
Right?
So wrong.
So this is very interesting, and I think a lot of people are going to find this perplexing because you, a millennial and a Muslim, that are usually, and you said yourself, you're a pretty liberal person. I mean, we've had our disagreements about about different subjects, but we fall in line in agreement with this. So I want to give you your props, because here's what's important about this. We get caught up in young people, as I was just discussing there a minute ago. They get so engrossed and indoctrinated with they identifying themselves with one thing or another. They're a lesbian, or in the case of this young girl who with the shaved head who was out there giving this speech about something she knows nothing about. You know, she's head of the LGBT group at that school.
Yeah.
So she's automatically going to be an activist. You have people that constantly identify with the color of their skin. They identify with being liberal or conservative. But you, in this case, have stepped outside of what you're being told on a daily basis of how you should feel, and you actually thought this through.
I actually don't think guns are the issue. I think people are the issue, and I know that opinion and that argument has been like debunked by the left and whatnot. But
wait, what do you mean? Say that again.
Like, it's not guns that are the issue; it's the people who are doing it that are the issue.
What do you mean by it's been debunked by the left?
Like, left people don't agree with that.
Right. So it's not been debunked. They just spread that thick, and they try to make it sound like
they make it sound like it's not a valid argument when it is.
Right. Yeah.
It really is a valid argument.
Absolutely.
Guns have been around since the beginning of time, and school shootings have only been a thing recently. In the past, 20, 30 years, they've been very popularized, and I think it's society as a whole needs to change, and not just gun laws, because whether it's against the law to have a gun, which it is, you have to have it licensed and whatnot, whether it's harder to get it or not, if somebody wants to do something crazy, they're going to find a way to do it. They're not going to sit there and say, well, it's really hard for me to get a gun, so I'm just going to not shoot up the school and blow my brains out. They're probably still going to find a way to do it.
Right.
So it doesn't
one way or
make
another.
sense to harm those who carry it sanely. And I think there's a study that there was 200,000 women carry guns as a result of like post-traumatic stress disorder by like sexual assault or violence. Those women shouldn't
be penalized.
Why should their guns be taken away for them to feel safer because some guy in Florida is depressed and lost his parents, so he decided to be a psycho and shoot up the school when everybody in the school was scared of him prior to that.
Right.
He should have been seen by a medical expert.
Now, do you know other millennials that feel the way that you do?
I'm sure there are, just none in my friend circle, that is.
Yeah. What do you think your friends would, I don't know if they're watching this, but what do you think that they would be saying about this? Like, would they be surprised that you feel this way?
They would be surprised because, again, I do often lean towards the liberal side of things, but when it comes to guns, if I want to carry a gun, I should be able to carry a gun. Mm-hmm. I'm not insane. I'm sure I'd pass my medical exams.
Right.
So why should I not be able to have a right? Because, again, people are crazy.
Yeah. Hey, this is a good thing that because you used the term crazy now a couple times, and I got chastised when I was hosting the David Webb show last week because I had a psychologist on there, and she actually did a really good job on the show, and but I used the term crazy because I wanted to see her response. I pre-thought out the way this is. Most people are not going to go by the literal terms of whatever this kid suffer from. Right? They don't know
something is wrong with that person.
Yeah, but they don't know. They don't know the actual terms. They don't know whether he was a psychopath or psychotic, whether he was schizophrenic. They don't know that, right? Because we're constantly told if you see something, say something. We're not told what to look for, and you're not told a proper way to report it most of the time.
Yeah.
So, we're not looking at I just saw a car ramming other cars, and I call 911 and say, I saw a blue small vehicle or SUV, and it was ramming cars on Broadway. That's how you would respond to that.
Yeah.
But they don't tell people in schools or in the workplace, these are different types of behaviors exhibited by somebody who's had a psychotic break. Somebody that may have this disorder or that disorder. If you see these things and you feel like it's a problem, here's how you handle that. You call HR if you're in a business. In this case, you can make an anonymous complaint.
Somebody should have went to the principal and said, we're scared of this kid.
But they won't.
Acts out of the ordinary.
They won't do it for two reasons. One, because they just say he's crazy. And everybody says, well, you shouldn't call somebody crazy.
But you should if that's what they are.
Well,
I think this country is way too PC, especially in the school system. Like, a lot of the kids in the Florida school were saying that they saw this coming and that he was really weird and that they all used to talk about it. But none of them reported anything because I'm sure they were scared to be ridiculed and looked at as a bully because they're not allowed to say that somebody is weird. But if somebody's acting weird and out of the norm, it should be paid attention to because a lot of those kids turn out to be serial killers and rapists and psychopaths.
Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely, that's the way it should be. But what I'm trying to say here is that whether it's young people or older people in the workplace or in schools, if you don't want people to use the term crazy, then you have to define there should be a class.
Yeah. It
should be part of a class for kids. Your different rights, your different, the First Amendment, Second Amendment, all your different rights in the Constitution, there should be a class. And it should be in junior high, really, and high school, and in college. It's mandatory. That teaches you about your rights, that teaches you why they were put in place, and in case of the First Amendment, people should realize if you say whatever you want, it comes at a cost. You may have the right to say it, but if you call somebody the N-word, you may lose your job, or you may get punched in the face. Or if you call somebody something else, and then you punched them, you may actually get charged with a hate crime. So freedom of speech goes to the extent of you can say whatever you want, but there's still ramifications for that speech. Same thing with the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment was put in place for certain reasons, and I don't think most people understand it. And I don't think that people think that the reasons why, like when we talk about tyranny, they don't realize that in 240 years, we have never been closer to a tyrannical government than we are now.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the DOJ and the FBI and the way they are and the way these politicians act, it's a scary thing. And that's why the Second Amendment was created.
It's just so easy for people to say, take the guns away or make this law stricter, that'll somehow lessen crime, but it won't. It's such a deeper issue than just the actual gun laws. It's the way people are raised, the society we live in, the violent culture that we have, the video games, the movies, the violence is glorified. It's almost as if it's okay to act out if you're depressed.
Yeah.
It's almost like you kind of get a pass of sympathy.
It's like the hashtag Me Too movement, right?
Oh, don't compare it to that.
Oh, no, I'll tell you why it's like that. Hashtag Me Too movement started out for the right reasons.
It still is the right reasons.
But nothing's changed in Hollywood.
But you don't know that. I mean, it's been, what, a couple weeks?
I know Hollywood well enough. Nothing's going to change. They haven't stopped.
I disagree.
No, listen. I'm going to tell you the truth. They haven't stopped pedophilia. It's a rampant problem in Hollywood. They haven't even began to talk about that issue.
It's too soon to tell. It takes a lot of time for
pedophilia. That's been Corey Feldman brought that up years ago. Look, everybody, anybody associated or close to Hollywood knows that sexual predators and pedophilia is a major problem, right?
Yeah.
But they don't do anything about it. And just because a lot of these people that are jumping on the hashtag Me Too, they're not doing it because they want to make something change. They're doing it because their publicist said, you got to get on this. This is a good thing. You're going to get publicity from this. You look at Sports Illustrated. The women are naked on there with words written all over them. I don't know what that means. It doesn't have anything to do with not raping a woman or sexually assaulting them. And I don't see how posing naked on Playboy with words written all over you does anything to show that you're powerful.
What does posing naked have to do with?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Why they would have that on Sports Illustrated. But they try to milk it in with the hashtag Me Too. But ultimately what Sports Illustrated wants is skin so people will grab the magazine. Do you think that most people are picking up that magazine because they say, this year they're naked in Sports Illustrated, and I'm picking it up in support of their power?
No, they're not.
This dog is cute. Grab him and put him over there.
Rico is trying to come in.
Yeah, he's not going to come in. Just grab him and pick him up.
I don't want to hurt him.
You're not going to hurt him. Pick him up.
Are you sure?
Yep. Pick him up and hand him to me.
Here you go, Rico. Go.
Hand him to me. Hold on a second. Because people don't know this show. They never watch this show. They don't know him. So come here, you dog. This is that 18-year-old Jack Russell. He had to get in here for the shot.
Rico got jealous.
Yep. So there he is. Okay, you're in the shot.
What
now.
do you think about gun control, Rico?
He's a gun advocate. This
is
dog.
He?
Yeah. He is. He was around before all this. The the social media and all that stuff. And he says, you know what? You should stick with your. This is what he thinks. He goes, I'm a dog, all right? But
Why
you're
is
a
Rico
human.
getting more attention than I am?
Listen, talk to the paw. So Rico says, your humans, your amendments, or your rights in the Constitution are extremely important, and they should not be infringed upon. It's the last thing that you should try to change. That's what Rico says, okay? He says there's effective solutions, just like he was trained. You can go out and you can find effective solutions for these things, and that's what you should do first, right, Rico?
I think if people are very concerned with saving lives, they should try to ban alcohol, because 80,000 people die a year because of drunk driving.
Yeah.
I don't see alcohol being banned or
I know
even being talked about, for that matter.
I know we have different beliefs on this, but how many abortions do we have every year where children, even the late-term abortions.
We just actually discussed this before the show started.
The late-term abortions, how many millions of kids that could live outside the womb are killed every year, and you don't see anybody talking about.
But abortion is a woman's choice.
Well, we're not going to discuss that now. I disagree, but
let's agree to disagree.
Look, it's a woman's choice, but I think it should be against the law. But anyway.
Oh, here come the Sharia law. Sharia law is not that bad.
No, you better tell them you don't believe that, or do you?
I was just trying to bother whoever wrote that.
So, it's funny because with Nina and I, and everybody else really at the Patriot Channel and at Sirius, we all we joke around about stuff. And let's see here, there's a troll. Shove your
abortion is murder. Abortion is not.
No, look at that person. See, that's what you call a troll. Here's a great thing about trolls. I'm not going to spend this show talking to trolls on there, but whether these idiots realize it or not, first of all, I don't know if you know this, Nina, but the majority of the trolls that come on here and say stuff like that, they're stinky people. They're stinky people who don't take showers. They come from rich families. They think they know it all, and they literally know nothing. But what they should realize is that the more trolls that come on my show, the higher my numbers are. So
you could be a devout Muslim and be pro-choice.
Yeah, but that person's an idiot. So
you could be a devout Muslim and be whatever you want to be.
Yeah.
Hello, James. Whoever you are.
Who's James?
I don't know. He said hello, Nina.
Okay, so but what else is
and also,
saying?
Somebody was asking who I was because they came in late. I am Nina, the Queen of Palestine.
And she also works at Sirius XM.
Yes.
She's a producer on a show there, and she often used to fill in answering the phones and stuff when
for the Patriot Channel.
For the Patriot Channel, which is a conservative channel, and everybody loves Nina. Nina is a comedian at heart, and hopefully you'll be a real stand-up comedian. Or
one day I'll be rich and famous.
Yeah, well. We'll
and then
see.
You could be my bodyguard.
All millennials believe that.
But I'm different. You tell me all the time that you believe in my fame.
I do. I believe you got talent. You got raw talent. What I want to know is, you're the fashionista. Why is it the light in here makes me look like when I turn my head that I'm doing a comb over when I'm not? There's no comb over there. You got to look at the camera.
I think you have too many lights.
That may be what it is.
I know a lot of things about Islam, Mr. or Mrs. Why are people being rude to me?
Oh, you can't listen to the trolls.
Trolls go away.
How can you, somebody who was raised in Islam your whole life, not know anything about Islam?
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. We're agreeing way too much tonight.
I know. I'm not used to this. We usually disagree on everything.
Well, let me think of something. I don't know. I'm really, but let me just say this. I'm shocked by the fact that you believe what you believe when it comes to guns. I respect the fact that you reached that on your own, because I know you didn't reach that amongst your peers.
No, I didn't.
And I think that it's pretty impressive, and I'd like to see more millennials
human garbage
that think that way.
Oh!
Who wrote that?
Somebody wrote that. I'm not even going to pay attention.
I'm a devout Muslim.
Again, I'm going to stop reading the comments.
Yeah, you can't do that.
I'm losing my train of thought.
So,
Rico doesn't like trolls.
Yeah.
Right, Rico?
So I'll go back through this show. Listen, if you watch this show regularly, and we talked about this before Nina came on the show, I knew that there would be people that would have very nasty and rude things to say. But another reason why I wanted Nina to come on here is because I want people to realize that dialogue doesn't just mean, and unity doesn't just mean that if you're conservative, you talk to a conservative. If you're liberal, you talk to a liberal. If you're Christian, you only talk to Christians. This is America. And Nina is a good person with a good heart. She has a different religious ideology than I do, but she's not somebody she's not a jihadist. She's not somebody who's going to go out.
It's not even a word.
It's a word. It's a word.
Jihad means. Let's not even get into
that.
You know, I'm not even going to get into that.
But the point is, look, we could have that dialogue, but the point is, you have to include dialogue with people that you don't normally have dialogue with, right?
Yes. I think having a broad.
No. We don't use that term anymore.
Having a broad acceptance to people who have different views than you do is a way
important.
It's important to be a normal human being and not a bigoted asshole.
I guess you could say that on here.
Can I curse on your show?
Well, we try not to.
Okay.
Because my mom watches this show.
I'm sorry, mom of Jonathan Gilliam, but no, people are just so bigoted all the time, and they think that if you have a different opinion, then you're somehow less educated or less smart. And it's no, people just have different ways to live their life. And
right.
As long as you're a good person, I don't think it matters what your opinion is.
And I try to give people the benefit of a doubt when I hear these young people say the things they do about gun control. The politicians, I don't trust any of them. I believe that they're liars. And I'm going to say that, well, in the closing statements, I'm going to talk about President Trump and where he's going with what he believes about gun control. I think he needs to be very careful with this because he needs to understand that if you give an inch when it comes to restricting our rights, whether it's the First Amendment, Second Amendment, well, all the amendments, then the people that try to restrict those will go after them with a vengeance and they'll take a mile. So that's where we have to be very careful with that. But I do believe that if we are going to solve problems in this country, we need to look toward subject matter experts. We need to come up with realistic, effective solutions. We need to have dialogue like this. And we need to stop going to the fastest, easiest thing that the politicians bring up every time because it doesn't do any good. How many politicians have solved any major problem you've ever had in your life? Yeah, exactly.
Is this your way of saying that you're running in 2020 for presidency?
Should I run for president?
Gilliam 2020.
Yeah, you think you're going to be my you want to throw him for a loop, you'll be my press secretary.
Can I be your vice?
You're my vice
president.
You got to get some more life experience.
I have a lot of life experience. I'm 24. I graduated college.
Oh man, you've got so much life experience.
I go to Palestine every now and then. I have a lot of life experience.
Well, then you'll be my envoy to Palestine. But I think you'd be better at being a press secretary.
Is there an age limit for vice?
For vice president?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be grown up.
I am a grown up. That's it. We're
goodness.
Running. I'm gonna start the bumper stickers.
We're running together. That would be something.
I think I would get a lot of votes. I'm very charming.
You are such a millennial. Millennials, I think I would get a lot of votes because people like me.
I mean, I have 4,000 followers on Instagram.
And
that's
I should be
4,000
famous.
votes, given the fact they're all over 18. But
yeah. I just saw Sheriff Clark on TV earlier. He's got almost 1 million people that follow him on Twitter.
Oh, I should get on Twitter.
Yeah. You were invited in 1965. I don't know what so you let these people on Twitter have their own conversation.
Yeah,
these people on Facebook are who I'm primarily.
Somebody commented on my language. I'm sorry I cussed.
Yeah, you said ass. It's terrible.
Asshole.
Yeah, well. You just defined the majority of people in
Look,
Washington, D.C.
People want us to run.
Yeah, run away.
Run for presidency. I feel like I should run the world.
And Rico will be the presidential dog, but if he doesn't live that long, well, we'll just stuff him, and we'll just carry him along.
You're gonna stuff your dog?
No, I wouldn't.
Is that really a thing?
No. You know what they do when they do taxidermy? You know how that works? You know what they actually do?
What do?
They just take the skin off, and then they pull it around a styrofoam shape of like a dog. Then it goes around the styrofoam shape of a dog. All that's there is just they treat the skin so that it doesn't rot, and that's it. There's no bones in there. It's not really the dog. It's just a styrofoam thing with his skin wrapped around it. Don't worry, it's not going to happen, dog. You're going to be here for a while. You're clueless right now.
I'm going through the comments. People are funny.
Yeah, they are.
Follow me on Instagram.
Yep, follow her on Instagram
at Queen of Palestine.
At Queen of Palestine. One day we'll have you on here. We'll talk about the Middle East and.
Oh boy! If I'm getting comments like this because I said I support I support people having guns. Imagine
Yeah.
what people would say when I give them my views on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
I'm glad that I'm glad that you said what you did. Again, if you're just joining, Nina is she is
What is my opinion on Sharia law?
Yeah, we're not going to get in that discussion tonight.
I enjoy having rights, so let's just say that.
Oh, there you go. That's good. But if you're just joining, Nina, she's Muslim. She's a millennial. She works at Sirius. She's often on some of the shows with me on Sirius.
I forced you to have me on.
Yeah, I know.
I literally go into the studio.
And you Snapchat
and
it.
I tell him, give me a shout out right now. I won't leave until you do so.
So we do it.
And then he gives me a shout out and I leave.
Because she's she's a millennial, and she believes that she's worth it.
I bully you into doing things for me.
You believe that you're worth it. And you bully people, just like millennials. They bully people, and then they get pissed when other people bully them.
Why would I take off my hijab? What is wrong with you? You're stupid.
Kitty cat came out right there. Kitty Kelly.
I hate you, whoever you are. No, I'm not converted. I was born and raised in a Muslim household. If that makes it any better or worse.
But she's pro Second Amendment and pro gun, and she doesn't.
Shout out to Scott.
Where's Scott? Oh. Shout out to Scott. All right, so that's it. I think this is enough. I don't want him to get too much of.
How do I feel about Israel? Ooh.
I'm telling you, that's a whole nother show. We're not going to go down that road.
Convince him to have me on, and we'll have that discussion.
Yeah, it's going to be a rough one. We're going to need a bigger. We're going to need a bigger studio for that.
We're going to need security guards and
yeah. But here's I will say this. I am pleased with your open mind in this situation, in this subject, because you have gone above and beyond what people think you should say.
Just because I wear a scarf doesn't mean I'm oppressed or I'm forced to. It's my right to wear it, and I choose to wear it.
But they're wanting to goat you into another conversation we're not going to talk about.
All right. You know what? I'm going to stop. Wait, talk about the doctor. I don't even know what that is. I'm gonna...
All right, so that's it. I think that's
I'll be back, guys, to talk about Palestine. One of the few subjects I'm an expert on.
There's my mom. She just joined. So today we're just talking about the Second Amendment, and she's a millennial. She's a Muslim, and she believes in the Second Amendment, and she believes in gun rights, and I commend her for that, for going outside of what most people would normally say. You're in your ideology and in your age bracket that would say the total opposite. So I commend you for that.
Thank you so much. I'm getting so many questions about my scarf.
Yeah, but we'll talk about that on another show.
Feel free to DM me on Instagram. I'll answer all your questions.
Yeah, don't say that. There's freaking 10 million people watching.
That's fine. Add me.
Queen of Palestine.
Yes.
She's a fashionista, by the way.
I try.
All right, we're not going to talk about fashion either. We tried that once on this show, and it bombed terribly. All right, so we're going to go to the Truth Zone. I'm going to kick Nina out. She's going to take Rico with her.
I'll take Rico with
me. And I'm going to do the Truth Zone. I want to talk specifically about President Trump and how I believe he's handling this right and how he's handling it wrong. So why don't you take Rico? I'm going to give you your headsets. Well, you can keep your headsets on. I'm going to give you Rico. Say bye, Rico. There you go. That's all right. Just leave him there. And let me pull my microphone back out. There you go. Now you can hear me better. So there you go, folks. That was Nina, the Queen of Palestine. She's on Sirius with me quite a bit. And I'm impressed with the fact that, see, this is what I'm talking about. Free thinkers. Don't think of Democrat or Republican. Think of, are you capable of thinking for yourself? And listen, you don't have to worry about the rude comments on Twitter. These people are that come on here is exactly what we're talking about. These are people that would never say this stuff in person because they'd get punched in the mouth. But that's the First Amendment. The First Amendment gives them the right to say what they want, but it doesn't protect them from getting punched right in the face if they did that in person. And when it comes to these trolls and these people and these leftists and some people on the far right that come on Twitter, it is a shame, and you should be ashamed of yourself in the way it's not funny, it's not cute, and it doesn't make you look like a badass. You look like a fool. That's pretty much how you end up looking. So let's go to the Truth Zone. I'm going to try to make it through with my voice, and then I'm going to close the show up. Man, I'm telling you what, we got started somewhat on time. We're going to end somewhat on time. Oh, I'll say it in person. I said it on my show. I don't know who you are on Twitter, and I really don't care what your show is. Who is that just said that? My throat spray's right here. Let me just, I want to see who this one troll was here. Let me just see this. I was on your show. All right, Gotti, I don't know what you were saying. I wasn't watching what you were saying earlier. But, again, on this show, we keep it. You can't have dialogue and go down a road. I don't know if you were saying this or not, but we can't go down the road of when you have somebody who's willing to have conversation. You can't go down the road of insults and bringing up stuff if it's off topic. We got to stick to topic whenever we're on. What?
It's not nice to be an asshole.
Yeah, that's true as well. Okay, let's go to the truth zone. We'll get back on topic here. So, those of you that tune into this show regularly, I hope you shared the show. I hope you, if you're on Twitter, that you retweet it. Don't forget, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival. This book has been selling like hotcakes, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm ecstatic because people should be reading this book long before an attack happens. And I'm ecstatic because people are actually taking it seriously. It's sad because we got to wait until an attack happens before people go out and buy something like this. But the fact is, folks, the fact is that we criticize the government all the time for for waiting too long to fix something, like the airline industry where they wait until a plane crashes until they fix something. Well, don't be like that. Be proactive. Don't just jump on the bandwagon about gun control. I defriended 2 people on Facebook last night. One of them, I've been friends with the guy for over 20 years. He's a former Marine. He was the honor man in my Ranger class at Ranger School. And they want to put out memes about getting rid of AR-15 assault weapons, which they're not assault weapons. Whenever you're assaulting somebody, whatever weapon you're using is the weapon that you're assaulting with. I was shocked. And they say that, the guy says, I've been a Marine, you know me, I'm a right-wing conservative, but we've got to do this. Why? Why would you, somebody who took an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, go immediately and turn on your God-given right? Why? I'll tell you why. Because you forgot your oath. Because you're not prepared. And because you have fallen in the trap of believing that politicians and activists and actors have the best ideas, instead of thinking it through for yourself. And if you're a veteran and you're going down this road, you are a blue flamer. And that stands for Buddy Effer. Because you have turned your back on your commitment and your oath to the Constitution. And I'll just say this, President Trump, I have been a supporter of yours before most people were. Long before people in the press were coming out, I hosted the Sean Hannity radio show and was supporting you openly. And people didn't argue with me normally because I gave them the right reasons, because you were operationally sound. You've ran companies that succeeded, companies that failed, and then you came back and succeeded again. The president, that's our president right now, is somebody who's built buildings and built a brand. Please, President Trump, do not go down the road of attacking our Second Amendment. If you want to control something, control the security of schools, control the security that law enforcement provides, offer solutions, Hire subject matter experts to do studies on these schools. Do what you have to do to protect our citizenry, but don't infringe upon our rights. And for those of you that are citizens, that are activists, or are veterans, that feel like you are the voice of reason, you are not. The voice of reason looks for effective solutions. They identify the problem and they find the solution. They don't just react. If you want to be a voice, study the Constitution and learn to act, not react, with liar politicians, liar activists, and liar actors. I'm Jonathan Gillum. This is The Experts. I'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget, if you want to get the book Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness, you can go to Amazon.com and you can order it there and also at Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness. I teach you how to protect yourself by thinking like an attacker, building a target package on your life so that you can turn around and properly defend against the attacks. Don't fall into the let's take guns away from people. There's a lot of suggestions out there that are positive. Don't fall for the ones that are ridiculous.
Peace out.
And yes, Rico is asleep on the floor over there. Peace. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it.